It turns out, when someone despises another woman for absolutely no concrete reason, it's sometimes because that woman unknowingly owns the life and the man they feel entitled to. Today on Our Space, gossip doesn't count as a personality once you're past prom age. My wife cheated with our neighbor's husband because she hated our neighbor. I exposed her to the neighborhood and let her deal with the real hate. I have a theory about my wife, and I really hope that I'm not right when it comes to this one. She was never a bad person, not at the time that I met her, but all of a sudden, pretty much out of nowhere, she started to give off mean girl vibes. I don't know where that came from, and I don't want to be cliche and point fingers at the people that she hangs around, but that just might be it. I'm going to get into this in detail. First things first, though. I am 32 male, and Kendra is 31. We got married when I was 26, but we have known each other since the last year of high school, so we've come a long way. I'm saying this because I want you to know that when I say I know her, or knew her, I really do. That's why the whole thing with her becoming witchy, especially towards other women, really surprised me. She wasn't even close to being that kind of person. Things have been getting a little better for us, and we finally moved into a house of our own about 2 years ago. We moved into a suburb, and I think that's part of the problem. She has a job, but she hangs around with a lot of housewives who have nothing better to do than gossip, and I think that kind of behavior has started to rub off on her. I'm not saying she was a saint who never gossiped before, but these days, she cares about people's business more than she was meant to. I guess it's because having things to talk about with her group is like social currency. I've told her to stop hanging around them, but all it does is start big fights because we move so far from my other friends, so you won't police the friends I do find. Those are the basics. The real issue is that there's a woman in our neighborhood with just a house between us and her, who Kendra hates. I don't mean that in a figurative way. She actually seems to hate her, like she wishes her the worst. I don't know why, because the woman in question, who I'll just call Sammy, is really sweet. Honestly, she's like the perfect neighbor in my opinion. She always has a smile on her face, she says hi when we run into one another, and she's always ready to help. She has a husband and 3 children, and it is clear they are a happy family. Kendra didn't have an issue with her the first few times that we met Sammy, but I think that change started around the time she started to hang out with those other women. I can't think of anything else major that happened in that time. If Sammy had something to do to offend her, she would have told me, but she never did. When Sammy comes up these days, she says that she's pretentious and conceited, and she thinks that she's better than everyone else. I have never gotten that vibe from Sammy, ever. There was a time when Sammy's son got into a car accident at college, and I could swear that when we heard the news, Kendra smiled. I might have imagined it, which is why I never mentioned it to her, but I really feel like I saw it. I've tried to get to the bottom of it before. I asked her what is really going on between her and Sammy, but it is never more than her listing off a few traits that are bad for a person to have. There's never anything personal. One time, I asked her if she wasn't just regurgitating what her friends said about Sammy, and of course, that caused another big fight. During that fight, I told her, yet again, that she had to get rid of those friends because they weren't any good for her. It got heated.
Do you want to F Sammy? Is that what you want?
She said that in the most mocking tone ever. That was one of the times that I realized that she had truly become one of those mean girls who peaked in high school.
I don't get why you're always fighting for her, even over my best interests.
It left me speechless, and the conversation died there. I was so appalled that she'd say that, and there wasn't anything I could find to retort. I think that argument did lead to her talking about Sammy a lot less, which I liked. I knew her feelings were the same, but at least I didn't have to hear so much about it. Here's where the actual problem is, because as much as all that's an issue, it's not the reason why I'm writing this. I was in the house, upstairs, and I heard the doorbell ring. Kendra shouted from downstairs that she had it, and I could hear her talking to someone. At first, I peeked to see who it was, and I saw that it was Sammy's husband, Bill. Kendra was smiling as she talked to him, and while I watched for a little bit, I eventually headed downstairs to say hi to him. He seemed surprised to see me, and she seemed annoyed to see me. At the time, I thought I might have misread it, but I've had enough time to think about it, and I think I read it correctly. She said he just came by to say hi because it had been a long time since he'd seen us, which was true, but it sounded flimsy, and it didn't explain the reactions that I saw when I showed up. Kendra doesn't like anything associated with Sammy. It sounds extreme, but that's how it is. That's why she didn't mind when her son was in an accident. It was something that hurt Sammy, and that was good enough for her. I know that she wouldn't not be chummy with Bill if he was right there, but it seemed too natural, almost flirty. She was smiling heavily. I know this might sound very crazy, but if it is correct, it'll explain a lot. I think that Kendra might like Bill. Women can get really irrational when it comes to men, especially men who belong to other women. That's when they want the men even more for some reason. I'm not too distraught about it right now because I'm still operating on a guess. I have no real evidence that there's anything between the two of them. I can lose my mind if I find out it's the case, and I really want to lean towards the chance that my guess is too ridiculous to be the truth. But I've spent a lot of time trying to understand why she doesn't like Sammy, and if I'm right, it'll make a lot of sense. I don't think there's anything wrong with being attracted to someone when you're in a relationship. Before you burn me at the stake, hear me out. I think attraction is involuntary. You can have a person and feel naturally attracted to someone else. But if you're a good partner, you won't entertain those feelings at all because the love you have for your actual partner is stronger than any basic attraction. We're going to have a really major discussion if I find out that she likes him, but I don't think it will be marriage ending. At least, I hope not. That's it for now, though. I just want help on figuring out what might be going on with her and Sammy. I'd love opinions from women because I still struggle to understand how a woman's mind works. Insight here would be very valuable. I'll come back with anything that I might learn, maybe in an update or in an edit if it's basic enough for that. Update 1. Alright, so I'm back with an update on my last post, and unfortunately, it is far from what I was hoping I'd be able to say. Nobody wants to actually confirm that someone is cheating on them unless you're looking for a way out of an unhappy relationship. It feels like something out of a movie to me because I found out that my wife, Kendra, really was cheating on me with the neighbor's husband. The neighbor in question, Sammy, is one of the few people I've ever seen my wife truly hate, and it was always baffling to me because Sammy is one of the sweetest people that I know. It all makes sense now because I realized that the hate was probably out of jealousy or something. The person I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life with has been secretly attracted to Bill, Sammy's husband. And because she couldn't have him or because she felt Bill was too good for Sammy, she started hating her, like some kind of high school mean girl. The only real thing left for me in this relationship is to divorce Kendra. I can't bear to be with her anymore, not after all of that. As for how I found out, I just started to be extra vigilant. Almost obsessive with it, to be honest. If she was having an affair, she had to be meeting up with the guy at some points. So I started looking out for times that she would be out late, or she'd only explain where she had been after she got back. I realized that it was happening a lot more than I would have expected, and that led me to the conclusion that there was something that she had to be hiding. That, plus what I had seen between her and Bill before, was what finally triggered me to figure out what was happening by just grabbing her phone and looking through it. I didn't want her to know what I was doing, so I had to get her phone at a time when it was free, and I knew she wouldn't stumble in on me going through her messages. I was able to do that without an issue, and I found her messages with Bill very easily because there was no need for her to name him Burger King or something stupid like that. There was nothing to debate. They barely chatted, maybe about once every 2 weeks, but when they did, it was purely intimate. I had to go back over 6 months before I saw them talking in a casual way. I assumed that was before the affair had started. They referenced the day that Bill had come to our place. They were both so glad that I hadn't caught them being too warm with each other. It was funny because they really thought that I hadn't sensed the vibe. It's one thing to have someone cheat on you, but it's another thing to see that they truly aren't remorseful about it, especially when me catching them like that wasn't a wake-up call for Kendra. She was just happy she could keep going out to cheat on me and break my trust. I was also able to figure out, sort of, why Kendra is the way she is towards Sammy. I don't know if she just naturally started hating her, or if Bill was complaining about her, which he did a lot of, played a big role in Kendra's seeing her as the enemy. Maybe it's a bunch of factors put together. I don't know, and I've asked enough times in the past to try and get an answer, but I never do. At this point, I know I have to confront her and end this sham of a marriage that we have. I've figured out when I'm going to do it, though. We're going to have a neighborhood barbecue party, and everyone is going to be there. I don't feel like I need to spare anyone the embarrassment. I know that Sammy will be caught in the crossfire, but she's collateral damage and she'll just have to look at the bright side, which is me exposing her husband. Update 2. Well, it's all gone down, and as hard as it was, I think that I'm going to be better off for it. A lot better off, in fact. I already sorted out meeting with a divorce lawyer, and since I did my research, it didn't take long for me to make the decision to retain their services. Once the divorce papers were ready, I just had to resist the urge to confront her before the big party happened. When the day came, I hung around Sammy a lot. I wouldn't normally hang around her that much, but she was pleasant company, and I knew that it was going to rile Kendra up a lot. It doesn't take long for that to happen. I spent 5 minutes talking with Sammy and then went back to Kendra. She didn't even wait for me to fully arrive at her side before she asked,
"What's your business with that witch?"
I let her know that I was just being friendly and talking to people. It wasn't personal or anything. But after that, in a few minutes, I went back. I spent time with some of the other neighbors, but it was clear that I was spending so much time with Sammy. And each time I was with her, I made it obvious that I was having a good time because I knew that was going to enrage Kendra. It did. She was giving me the cold shoulder, and she brought out her classic line accusing me of wanting to sleep with Sammy. I asked her why that was the only thing she could think of when I was being nice to someone.
"You have a beautiful wife right here, but you're so concerned with that woman, and I really don't get it."
I didn't say anything to that. I just left it at that. But about 30 minutes after that, I went to see Sammy one last time. This time, I pulled her aside, which I knew Kendra saw. I didn't care because I knew that I was very close to blowing everything up. I told Sammy what I knew. I did try to let her know that what I had to say was heavy, and then I dropped it. She took it exactly how you'd expect someone would take news like that. She said that she had an idea he was having an affair, but she had no idea with who. And in that moment, I realized that Sammy had never been unaware of the way Kendra saw her. She said that it explained why my wife hated her so much, even though she had only tried to be kind to her. I really felt bad for her. I let her know what I planned to do because I didn't want to spring it on her. She wanted to know if there was any way around it, but I told her that I had already settled on exposing them that way, and she didn't fight it. She didn't want to be around for it though, and that was fine. Kendra was glaring at me as I left Sammy's side, but I didn't go back to Kendra. Instead, I stood somewhere in the middle of everything that was happening and I asked for everyone's attention at the top of my voice. I wasted no time in telling the entire street that I found out that my wife had been cheating with Bill, one of the neighbors. The moment that I said that, there was so much murmuring that I couldn't continue. One of the HOA people tried to tell me that it wasn't the time or place, but I've never liked the HOA people anyway, so I ignored her. I saw Kendra gasp when I said it, but she didn't object. For some reason, Bill was the one who tried to play hero and defuse the situation. He claimed that I was lying, and when I asked why, he couldn't give a solid reason. I pointed out that I had messages, so if he wanted me to show the proof to everyone, I could do that too. That shut him down very quickly. He couldn't say anything, but he looked like he wanted to attack me. Eventually, the HOA people got the DJ to play music at max volume to drown me out, but I had done the damage that I wanted to do. I had Kendra served with papers about an hour after that, and when I walked back into the house after the entire party had started to come to its close, she rushed at me. She didn't touch me at first. She was just cursing me out. She claimed that I was lying, and I didn't understand the situation because I didn't ask her about it first, but I let her know that I didn't need to do that to know that she was a cheater. She shoved me in the chest at that point, and I barely moved because I'm much bigger than her. There wasn't a single good argument she had, so it was just a lot of her yelling at me. She claimed I hadn't just ruined our lives, but I had ruined theirs.
"You love Sammy so much, and now you're going to ruin her life. I guess you can be together now. You can finally F her like you've wanted to all this time." I actually laughed at that. It was silly for her to come from that angle when I had literally just exposed her for cheating on me. I pointed that out, but she was not in the headspace for any kind of rational discussion, so I eventually left her to it. I used the rest of the day to pack my things, and I left the house around midnight. She acted like she was entitled to know where I was going, which was very funny. I was ready to leave the house for her because I didn't want to live in that neighborhood anymore. I had already arranged accommodation, so it was easy for me to move in there. The divorce was pretty simple, mainly because I didn't fight that much. I let her have the house, and I was going to take my split of its value. My only request was that I didn't pay alimony. I got that. I made her think that getting the house was a win, but it didn't take long for her to realize that it was far from that. She ended up putting up the house on the market. I found that out from one of the people who I was still friendly with in the neighborhood. He said that people didn't like her, and they didn't hide that from her. Most of the gossipy friends had pulled away from her because she was a homewrecker. It was bad optics to be around her. Plus, she might do the same to their men. Sammy was still in the neighborhood. She only got sympathy, which didn't surprise me. I expected I would have gotten similar, but I didn't want it. That's why I just had to leave. Kendra messaged me at like 2 a.m. one day. It was a really long message. She gave me some fake story to try and explain what had actually happened and how I had the entire situation wrong. It looked like she used AI to write it. Even if it had come from her, it wouldn't have changed anything. It annoyed me so bad that that was the point I chose to block her. Anyway, that's it between her and me. I hope I never have a single thing to do with her in the future. It's crazy how we had started to warm up to the idea of children before all of this. That would have been the biggest mistake of my life.
I'm glad I made it out from that terrible marriage. Yes, I know I made a lot of mistakes myself. I let a lot of red flags slide. I'm only human. I definitely won't make the same mistake if I ever get married again. She wasn't threatened by Sammy because Sammy was pretentious. She was threatened by Sammy because Sammy had a life she wanted and a husband she felt weirdly entitled to. Hating her was easier than admitting she was lusting after someone else's spouse. So instead of taking responsibility like an adult, she went full high school cafeteria. Smear campaign, jealousy, projection, and rage whenever you didn't fall in line. The messages sealed it. Sparse, secretive, and intimate. Not an emotional mistake, not a rough patch. Just two people who knew exactly what they were doing and didn't care who they hurt. Was the barbecue confrontation nuclear? Sure. But let's be honest here. She built the bomb. Is it ever not a red flag when someone hates another woman for no clear reason? Or do we just pretend it's normal until it blows up? Share your mean girl stories in the comments below. And thank you for joining us today on Our Space. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. Until next time.